Well, good evening and welcome to Seckman High School in Imperial, Missouri, home to the Seckman Jaguars. They are hosting the Fox Warriors. As we get ready to get things started here real quick, Ray Halbrook and Scott the Freak Lotta coming to you live from a brand new field here at Seckman High School.
Both teams coming in at 1-0. Both teams started out on the road. They both had convincing victories.
Yeah, you know what? It's always a big rivalry. This game, comes with its distractions, and it always means just a little bit more when you're playing the team that's 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes down the road. And, Fox is always a very solid, well-coached football team. I know we've gotten the best from the last 3 years, but the margins are small. And make no mistake, they're a team that we respect, just not a team that we fear. And we know that we have to come out, execute our game plan, do our job, and go out and get it done on Friday night.
Snap. Roll out, throws to the flat, got number 22, he's got the corner and touchdown! 8.5-yard touchdown to number 22, Ben Lewis. Lewis back there. Ambrose takes it, works inside, spins, touchdown! 4-yard touchdown for Ambrose. Brady Ambrose, number 26, with a 4-yard run. 2nd and 14. And somehow breaks through number 20. He's got a whole sideline. It's a foot race down the sideline. Number 20, Tristan Hanks. Pay dirt. Wow. An 83-yard run. Shotgun for Fowler. Takes it, and he runs off the right side. He's got a huge gap on the sideline. It's a foot race down the sideline. 20, 10, 5, touchdown with a flip. And how about that? Mason Fowler says, I'll show you. I don't need an arm. I've got 2 legs. 10 seconds to go. 3rd and goal. Takes it, cuts into the middle. That's a touchdown. Ambrose, touchdown. 2 yards. 2 seconds to go on the clock. Hard count right there, almost got him to jump. Kube, he's got him wide open and floats it in. I believe that's Gosser for the touchdown. 14-yard touchdown. That was beautiful touch. So the kneel down happens with 20 seconds to go, and that is your ball game. Our final here, Seckman Jaguars 34, the visiting Fox Warriors 7. This has been a presentation of Friday Night Blitz for Livestream STL.
Well, good Monday to you again, and welcome to another episode of Upon Further Review. Ray Halbrook from Livestream STL Media. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Monday, and we are going to bring in the panel today here. Matt Bates in the middle, and Jeff Whitener is with us as well on my far right there. Gentlemen, how's it going, Matthew? Good Monday morning to you.
Likewise, great to be here. Great day to talk about football and discuss topics in depth.
Jeffrey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Ray. Matt and I are properly festooned in our fall regalia.
I like it. I like it. There you go. Well, let's get to it here, and we are going to get to the week 2 results here, and we're going to buzz through them real quick. Seckman, big win over Fox, 34-7. DeSoto drops to Perryville, 31-28. Eureka beats Marquette, 37-14. SLU takes down Hillsboro, 24-17. Festus beats Francis House Central, 34-14. Windsor, 40-8 over Afton. Fredericktown, 14. Herculaneum, nothing. Grandview, 25. Bayless, 6. Park Hill Central, 42. Jefferson, 24. St. Vincent with a big win over Valley Catholic, 24-7. Clever beats Cuba, 29-28. Summit over Lindbergh, 21-17. Northwest 12, Melville 7. Parkway South drops to Oakville 39-20. North County beats Glenwood 31-28, and Crystal City, rounding things out, beats Louisiana 24-16. And we are going to jump in right away with our game of the week here, our live stream STL game of the week here between Fox and Seckman. Gentlemen, what a game. The atmosphere, absolutely electric, absolutely a top-notch game, and they do it right over there for the rivalry between Fox and Seckman there, Matt.
Yeah, that's big Friday night light football over there. Just a little trek across town, and Coach Bear and them, the Jaguars continue their undefeated regular season streak. I think they're up to 19, 20 games, something like that. And saw the flip flop as had Brody Kuby in at quarterback this week, and Ambrose got the bulk load of the carries. You saw a productive day from Kuby. I mean, 9 of 9, 81 yards, 2 TDs. I guess you would say that's a modest day, but that's about almost a typical Seckman day. Rushing 37 carries, 187 yards, 260 total yards for the Seckman program, which, I mean, usually they're racking up about the 450, 500 point. But I think of note going into this year, that something that really didn't, I guess, make everybody's radar would have been the loss of Evan Benke. And you're like, well, yeah, I mean, every school lost, linemen up and down and all that, but he was your kicker for extra points. Connor Day right now went 0 for 3 last game and is 4 of 9 on the season. So that's just a little nugget just to make note of as you progress and make your way through that. Last year, you had a PAT kicker that, for the last 3-4 years was Mr. Automatic. I think he had somewhere around the 50-52 number for PATs. And so right now you got an extra point issue where you're not even hitting at a 50% clip right now. So just a little something to keep in your back pocket. And Dylan Lampy, Dominic LaGrasso, 10+ total tackles each. Great job by the defense to just stifle Fox, and was a great game.
Jeffrey.
Well, I'll tell you what, gentlemen, you remember the line in Die Hard where McClane he takes down a bad guy and he's got this shotgun, and finally he gets on the radio and he says something about, guess who's got a shotgun? Well, guess what? Seckman has a shotgun now. They've got a quarterback who can sling the ball. So we've seen, after about 8 consecutive seasons of them running the traditional single wing offense with awesome quarterbacks who can run like crazy, they've also got a quarterback now in QB who can sling the ball. And I watched a lot of that game, and he made some great passes, 9 for 9 on the night, perfect 9 there. And that gives Seckman yet another weapon. So we'll see how they progress through the season with their advantages and disadvantages. But that's another arrow in the sling, so to speak, for the Jaguars.
Week 2 of the high school football season rolls on as we welcome you into DeSoto High School. Myself, Drake Beekman, on the production tonight. Matt Bates on the call tonight. Both teams getting a win in their first week of the season, starting off hot. What do you see coming into tonight's game, Matt?
Both teams coming in undefeated. What I see right now, though, is something that hasn't happened in the last 8 years, which is the DeSoto Dragons have the potential to go 2-0. In the last 12 years, they've only done it 3 times, but most recently 8 years ago. So uncharted territory that they could be walking into tonight.
Well, defensively, running to the football, much like we did last week against Freeburg. I don't know that the trend of 5 turnovers will continue, but obviously if we can create those turnovers and give our offense an opportunity, and then offensively, us being a bit more efficient in what we're doing. We, like I said earlier, we did some things that we needed to clean up this week, some missed assignments and things like that. And I trust that kids have got those things in a good situation for us now.
So that's what was at the 25. That was the placement. So make that a 35-yard field goal attempt, and that is good. Richarde nearest us. Wheeler in the backfield offset. There goes Richarde in motion. They fake to him. Going to go to the corner, has Seiler all by himself, and that will be a 33-yard touchdown strike. I think if you're Coach Schmidt, you're looking for points right here. In motion goes Escobar. Hand off to Siebert, breaks out a 1, sticks it out, gets it over the goal line, give him 6. Connor Siebert. So that looks like a long second down. Lucky back to pass once again, airs it out, has Richarde, catches it, and that is a touchdown for the Perryville Pirates. Holy mackerel. Go ahead, get the handoff to Wheeler, and he makes short work of that. Give him 6. 1-yard TD run. Offset back formation. There's Tebow. They fake to him. They give it to the other back. That is 23, Joey Escobar. Give him 6. 4-yard TD run. Up. The DeSoto Dragons 24-12 right now. Here's a deep pass into the corner of the end zone, and right out of the break, touchdown. That was a dagger from Lucky to Leichel. 3:33 left to go. Speaking of 33, Tebow's going to run wild. He gets across to the 20, to the 10. He's going to cut through to the end zone. Give him 6. Eli Tebow. So now you have 62 seconds left to go. Tebow, actually Missy's going to keep it. He goes out to the 45-50, 40, 35-30, 25-20, 15-10. Give him 6. Are you kidding me? 65-yard run. He's going to get some credit here eventually. Another great night of rushing by Eli Tebow. So with that snap, that should, well, they should have reset the clock. But anyway, that's a moot point. That's how this one is going to finish. That is Perryville Pirates coming in. They defeat the DeSoto Dragons 31-28.
Exactly. Let's look at the second game of the week there last week. Perryville taking down DeSoto. Matt Bates, you were on the call for that. Let's get a little insight from you, my friend.
Well, the 14 points racked up by DeSoto in the last 3.5 minutes was, I think the effort that Coach Schmidt was looking for the whole game, that the Dragons had their backs against the wall and being counted out at every turn. At one point, I think it was like 30, 31, 19, somewhere in that area. And all of a sudden you had a breakout run, a 42-yard run by Tebow, and then Austin Missy, who it shows in the stats he had 5 carries for 65 yards, but he actually had 4 carries for 0 yards. And that last carry was the one rushing TD for 65 yards that got him onto the stat sheet. But only 1 for 9 of passing, had a few drops. Perryville for 3.5 quarters, like, imposed their will and just basically was taking advantage of every mistake. They were putting points up off every DeSoto Dragon turnover. But I would say of note, at least for me, Levi Huck had a tackle for loss, had a sack, 2 quarterback pressures, 3 solo tackles, 4 assists, 7 total tackles. His defensive presence in that game really stood out to me right off the hop. And then they rotate him in and out like in a makeshift fullback, tight end flanker role, if you will, and did a great job on both sides of the ball. So, so unless you'd seen the game or had been there, you would not have known about number 45 really being on the field there.
Jeffrey.
Well, the only thing to say about that, and we had Coach Schmidt on our post-game show, so much to build on for a program that's been down for so long. The Dragons finally gave Coach Schmidt an effort and something to build on for the next week. And, there's little moments that happen during a season during a program when you're trying to rebuild it. And they can look back maybe on this game, Matt, and say, this is something where we might have turned the corner a little bit here. We played, all the way hard through the fourth quarter. We didn't give up. And it's almost, it's a loss, but it almost feels like a win because of the positive that DeSoto could take out of this.
Moral victory is what I would call that coming
Right.
back the way they did and to lose by the field goal. And then once again, I mean, we say it week after week, Jeff, PATs, special teams, extra points, you can't put a price on conversion and what those bring to the table.
Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Blitz here on Livestream STL. We are in Eureka, Missouri, as the Eureka Wildcats will be taking on the Marquette Mustangs tonight. This is Brian Kaplinger alongside Tim Ellerbrook and Judah Holbrook on the camera tonight. And gentlemen, we are in for just a great game. Both teams come in 1-0, big wins last week.
Yeah, I mean, game plan's a good quality football program coming in here. Another Rockwood opponent, Class 6 school. And, it's just going out there and do what we need to do, play our brand of football and, putting ourselves in good position to be successful. And, that's really how we're going to have to do things.
Hobelman with the snap. This time he's going to hand it off to Kodak. Got a big hole. He breaks through 30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Trevor Kodak. And the Eureka Wildcats, as they strike first here early in the game, first possession. They're going to try and hand off, and I think they're not going to get out of it. This is going to be a safety. So the defense steps up, add 2 more to the total there, as this defense is just overwhelming. Already has 1 on the ground tonight. This time rolling out to the right. They're going to hit Kodak in the flat. He's going to break a tackle, and he's going to fight his way into the end zone. And this time there are no flags on the play. So a 10-yard touchdown pass from Hobelman to Kodak. And this time we are going to extend the lead up to 15. Oh, he's going to keep it himself, and this time he lunges in for the 1-yard touchdown run. Hobelman follows Kodak there, jumps to the right, and dives in for the touchdown. This time it's going to be a deep shot, taking a shot to Reed. He is wide open and into the end zone for a Wildcats touchdown. And so first drive of the half extends their lead, a big 39-yard touchdown pass, and they did knock him out. Let's see if they can keep him out of the end zone or if the Mustangs can keep this moving, as there's a partial rollout, and Kosman's going to get this one on the swing pass to the tight end, and it's going to be a touchdown. And so there are points on the board for the Mustangs as they score and get a touchdown and put their first 6 on the board. And so the Mustangs looking to answer again. So Throneberry with Hollins in the backfield. This time they're going to hand off to Hollins. He gets the hole, and he is going to skirt into the end zone for a 9-yard touchdown run. So just like that, the Mustangs have answered back-to-back drives into the end zone. And don't look now, folks, but they are finding a way to climb back into this game. And so Wildcats on the move again. It's going to be another handoff right up the middle to Kodak. This time no one's going to get him, and he's going to walk in for a 16-yard touchdown run for the Wildcats. Trevor Kodak putting a statement and maybe a fork into this Mustangs team right there with that drive, as he was featured all the way down the field, pushing the score 36-14. And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. With that kneel out, the clock will just go ahead and count down. That is going to be our final here from Eureka. Eureka Wildcats 37, the Marquette Mustangs 14.
Moving on to our third and final live stream STL game of the week. There, the Marquette Mustangs drop to Eureka 37-14. Let's start with Jeff on this one for Eureka.
Well, it's the Hobelman and Kodak show running the offense, obviously for the Wildcats, and they put up some pretty darn good numbers against Marquette. They came right out of the gate in this game and smacked Marquette in the mouth and sort of asserted their dominance early. And it was a classic Eureka game. A lot of big ground and pound type runs mixed in with some medium short passes. Hobelman was pretty efficient at quarterback, and Marquette really, they were on their back foot from the get go. So typical Eureka win, and then they're showing that 2 games into the season now they're going to be able to play typical Wildcat football, Matt.
Staunch offense. Got to tell you right now, Jack Lang, number 75, their left tackle or right tackle is a beast. I believe he's a Mizzou commitment, and seeing that man up close and personal, hits about 6'7", 6'8". He is just basically a big eclipse that trying to get around him, he just engulfs you. You flip that around and you look at Trevor Kodak and you look at Hobelman. Though they're not going to wow you away with their size, but it's the heart, the power, the speed. Seeing Kodak again, and in the different highlight packages that I had access to, the 2 words that came to my mind, and before everybody goes off the rails with it, reminds me of Marshall Faulk, just in the size and the ability to stop, break, cut back, make his way, shift through a hole. Because again, he's not going to wow you with the size, but it's the hole recognition and then the speed to get through the hole and then hits that second, third gear. And then, as you'd indicated too about Hobelman at the quarterback spot, a lot of his passes are on the money, just not being able to be corralled in. And so, yeah, great job by Coach Sumner and the Wildcats once again, imposing their will on the Mustangs.
Exactly. Moving on to other games this past Friday, another drop for Hillsboro there to SLU, tough team there in SLU, 24-17. Let's talk a little bit about that there, Matt.
Here's where it's going to get interesting. They're banged up on the O-line. They moved to 0-2, and with Lossman out, I know that that was one of the things right there in week 1 that Coach Saharsky had talked about, was having to rotate and move a few pieces around. But, and then, the way the MICDS game works out, you go to SLU, they ring up 358 total yards of offense against you, and stat information's limited. So I think right now they're just some bitter pills right now being handed out by the Hillsboro Hawks. Again, not the way they wanted to start the season. I mean, they'd probably take best case scenario 2-0, but probably would settle for a 1-1. But now to be 0-2, and then they got Washington coming up, who might be looking to deliver a knockout blow to send them to 0-3. But they got to figure out how to put the brakes on here before this spirals out of control.
Jeffrey.
Well, and Matt, and watching that game Friday night, SLU did a really good job of isolating Preston Brown and focusing on him. The Hillsboro offense, didn't give the defense, didn't give them any favors, put it that way. It was a situation where Hillsboro was in the game, back and forth. But again, they got behind early, like they did with MICDS, and had to come back in that game. Now, right before we came on the air, we had a few statistics from Hillsboro to share, and I just wanted to highlight a couple. Chris Duncan, the running back, 16 carries for 134 yards for the Hawks. And also the outside linebacker, Aiden Rowland, had a monster game. 16 total tackles, including 13 solo from that outside linebacker position. So,
wow.
Yeah, they've got some work to do before Washington next week.
Absolutely. Moving on here to the next games here. Festus, big win over Francis Howell. You got Windsor and Afton, Fredericktown, Herky, Bayless, Grandview. You guys pick one there, and we will continue on here. I'll give Matt the first shot here.
Wow. Well, I mean, if I had to throw a dart and pick at least one, I would go Grandview Bayless. The Grandview Eagles quietly going 2-0 with that 25-6 win over Bayless. I mean, yeah, they had that the weather shortened game against Chaffee, but again, as we say, the numbers are the numbers, and they've only given up 8 points all year. So, I mean, all I gotta say is you just take that for what it's worth. They recorded 3 fumble recoveries in the game. Quarterback Brendan Martin, 13 for 105, and then goes 8 of 15 for 117 yards through the air. And then you have 10 total tackles from Wyatt Kime and 23 carries for $109, 2 TDs. So again, the Grandview Eagles, another one of those programs that only has about 14, 15 kids out there. You're getting the effort and you're seeing the results here that Coach Kim and I was getting at 2-0, and they look to protect the nest once again.
Jeffrey.
Right. Their defense did a great job in that game, Grant. Holding Marvin Jones, the speedster from Bayless, who will probably play the next level somewhere, to 73 yards total rushing in that game was a big achievement. But one thing I wanted to pick out, guys, and I hate to do it with your alma mater here, worried about the Black Cats. The Fredericktown Black Cats beat Herculaneum Black Cats 13-0. And the thing that really stood out for me was Herculaneum was held to just 66 yards of total offense in that game. Now I know they're beat up, like they were last year. In these small schools, you don't have the depth. So if you lose a couple pieces here and there, it makes a big impact. On the bright side, Dillard Boys, 12 total tackles on defense for the Black Cats, but they host Jefferson next week. That is coming off that loss down to Park Hills, which was expected, but Jefferson played pretty good, especially in the second half. There was able to put up some points against Park Hills, so it should be interesting.
Yes, Matt. Another game you want to pick there?
I would say let's flip a coin because the piggyback maybe right off of Jeff's comment there, the Jefferson at Park Hills game. What a game by Karis Foster. 9 carries, 114 yards, 2 TDs, 4 receptions, 145 yards, 2 TDs, 259 yards of offense, 4 TDs for the young man. He accounted for nearly half of just a tick under 500 total yards that Park Hills put up against that Jefferson Blue Jay outfit. But talk about a dynamite in a small package. I mean, 13 touches and racks up approximately 260 yards, 4 TDs. What a stellar day at the office. I know there's some highlights with Crater on defense, and then you also, you've got Hafner, back there at quarterback earning his stripes. So I think I think this might have been a good test for the Blue Jays, seeing Park Hills getting a couple gut punches that coming in to face Herculaneum might be just what the doctor ordered for them. And the only other game would probably be the Crystal City, Louisiana game. Seeing the Hornets and talk about a productive day with Eisenbice at quarterback. I mean, we looked at the day that Kubi had with his 9 for 9 for 81, but how about 4 for 4, 174 and 2 TDs, and the game that Evan Wolf had with a pick 6 fumble recovery, 2 total TDs on the offensive side, 3 catches for 157 yards. So the Hornets taking care of business against a tough Louisiana team that always seems to be a thorn in their side, but they dispatched to them 42-16, Jeff.
Yeah, Evan Wolf had a monster game for the Hornets for sure, and Eisenbice, Pastrana, that's the 3-headed monster for Crystal City right now, and big win against a tough Louisiana team that gave them all kinds of fits last year in the regular season and in district play. The game I wanted to talk about is St. Vincent going into Valley Catholic and smacking the Warriors right in the face, 24-7. I mean, that's all it is. I mean, obviously Valley might be down a little bit this year, but the Indians, 2 huge games. They win St. Genevieve County.
Yeah, they do.
They took down a larger school in St. Gen. Now they take down, perennial playoff team and state champion Valley Catholic. I'm very afraid of this Indian team for the rest of the Quad County Conference, guys. They last year, we don't have any stats. They graduated a really good quarterback last year. They returned 17 starters from their last season's state run, and they only graduated 6 players. So I would be afraid, very afraid.
I agree with you there, Jeffrey.
They've scored 77 and have only given up 7. So yeah, that's definitely on everybody's radar at the moment. So yeah, St. Vincent, look out for them.
Hey, and how about Northwest started 2-0 with a win over Melville, guys?
Yeah. Big win there for the Northwest Lions.
Right there on my sheet as well too. That again, you look at the rushing game from Stark and Veland over there. 41 carries combined, 228 with 3 TDs. But you look on the year, only 87 yards of passing and 170. You take the victories when you can get them, because you don't want to get caught looking ahead. But when we talk about week 3, they by the way have a game against Seckman. So pop the corks while you can right now, and then you got to buckle up for some big boy football against the Jaguars.
Yep. By the way, I called that game last week, this particular one. Now the other one that I'm 1-1 on the week, so I projected Hillsboro to beat SLU. Big close. Yeah.
Speaking of calling games, I made all my money back on picking the Black Cats to win last week. So
hey,
I'll be sharing and spreading the love with you guys here, with the winnings that I got from that. So
all right,
just put it all on Black Cats, right?
Yeah. Right. There you go.
Put it all on black.
After Friday Night Blitz, check out the Friday Night Blitz postgame at 10 p.m. Our Friday Night Blitz announcers will catch up with coaches from around the area and grab some postgame interviews to cap off another Friday night football frenzy. That's the Friday Night Blitz postgame show at 10 p.m. on Livestream STL. It is now time for the Week 3 schedule. Holy moly, we got some good ones here, and let me get rid of this one graphic here real quick. Jefferson at Herculaneum. Jeff, you and I will be on that call Friday night. Festus at Windsor. Matthew will be over at Windsor with Festus, and then we'll have BCAP over at Hazelwood Central. Over at Eureka. They'll be taking on Hazelwood Central. Other games, Washington is at Hillsboro. DeSoto's at North County. Grandview at Cuba. St. Vincent at Perryville. Bayless at Crystal City. Knob Noster's at St. Pius X. Fox is at Rittner. Oakville is at Summit, and Seckman is at Northwest. Gentlemen, let's preview the Jefferson Herculaneum game there, Jeff.
Well, I think the key thing for both teams going into this game, guys, is health. I've heard some rumors this week that Jefferson's a little banged up, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm sure Herky was banged up. Luke Bryce was injured. He was able to come back in that first game. Matt, I think you were on the call on that one. But it's really going to depend on the health of these teams. And, they both desperately need a win at this point. Herky especially 0-2, Jefferson 1-1. Jefferson's going to come in very confident into this game. It's been a long time since they lost to Herculaneum. However, we've got some other factors, maybe some wild cards here. First time playing on the turf, and this could be the first time the Black Cats are playing on the turf where we might have some rain Friday night.
Yeah.
And we'll watch the weather really closely, but that could come into play. Certainly it's going to slow down a little bit the Jefferson's outside speed, which would benefit Herky normally more on a dirt field, grass field. I don't know how much it's going to help them on the turf field, Matt.
Well, I think what you have to look for, if there is rain, and I always go back to it being a former center, it's going to be, how can you play with a wet ball and how will that affect your quarterback center exchange, whether it's underneath or whether it's in a shotgun position, because you just don't practice those things a lot. And whenever they're brought to you in game situation, you've got to be able to react and adapt to that. So if there is rain in the air, and Herky playing on now a new artificial surface with those balls, would be nothing new for at least Jefferson, playing on that on the regular. So to me, that would be something to look for. One of those intangibles that, does affect both teams, but is usually not taken in consideration until it happens. Yeah, and I mean, we got some great games on the docket. I mean, and you look at the Festus Windsor game that I'll be at, where, I don't even want to say the last couple years, but the last number of years, when you talk about Festus and Windsor playing, it was usually like talking about Windsor, just holding on, so it wasn't a blowout. I think this year you look at, again, what Lee Freeman's got in store up there, coaching the Owls. This being a home game for Windsor, with Festus having to go on the road for this one, I dare say it might be one of the first years where I say, watch out for the Owls going to 3-0 potentially.
Wow, that's a good one right there. This week, are you going to put money on the Owls instead of Black Cats, Matt?
I think I might have to give a who
regardless
as far as birds protecting a nest per se. I think I've got a better shot with the Owls at home, because I think as we move along, you're going to see that there's going to be some tough sledding. Eureka, I see them going to 3-0 against that Hazelwood Central team at home, and as I say, talk about birds protecting a nest. Washington can purely give the Hawks some fits at home and send them to 0-3, and be glad to talk about any of the other games, Jeff, as we move through the list.
Well, yeah, just with that Festus Windsor game, regardless of the ending score in that game, I think it's a good benchmark early in the season. Third game in for the Owls to see exactly where they're at. They've got a little confidence in these non-conference games that they've picked up wins in, but now they've got a conference foe in Festus that they haven't beaten in a long time. And I think that's just, regardless of whatever happens, they're going to be looking at effort and what they can do, how they match up against a JCAA large school team is kind of a benchmark game, a litmus test, if you will. The other games in the area that I'm looking at next week, I think the Grandview Cuba game could be interesting. That game is at Cuba. Cuba's coming off a 1-point loss against Clever last week, where that game was gone to overtime. Cuba scored a touchdown on their first possession, kicked the extra point. Clever gets the ball in overtime. They put the touchdown in. They go for the 2-point conversion and are successful. So they roll the dice. I love it when a coach does that. That game will be interesting. Crystal City and Bayless, that's going to be a game with a lot of speedsters on both sides of the ball. Very interesting. St. Pius, it has been since 2016 that the Lancers have started the season 0-2. And they're hosting Knob Noster at home, and Knob Noster is no joke. They're 2-0 to start the season. So the Lancers are desperate for a win there. Oakville Summit, that's going to be a good game as well. That's always good when those two teams hook up. But I'm really, really interested to see what Washington will do at Hillsboro, Matt, and how Hillsboro will respond and can rally the troops here against a Washington team that's always pretty strong.
That's why I say the Hawks could easily go to 0-3, and then you look at the testing that they would have the following week against Festus. But let me say this. Festus, if they lose at Windsor, you talk about having a burr in their saddle when they go to suit up against the Hawks, could make for a crosstown matchup that might be a little more epic than what people want to just see on paper. Because again, if you talked about a season where the Hawks could be going 0-3 to face a Festus team that if they're fresh off of a loss to it, all of a sudden, if Hillsborough could go 0-4, wow, that would be
Yeah.
a
little devastating.
debacle. I want to see how DeSoto handles North County. I like the St. Vincent Perryville game. I want to see how Perryville, how they respond after their win against DeSoto. But the way DeSoto came back, I wonder if that just perked the interest of Perryville just a touch, see how they handle the Indians. Crystal City, I see them going 3-0. Again, Knob Noster coming in, the Knob Noster Slobber Knockers. I'm telling you right now, you can never say Knob Noster enough in a program. So, yeah, Knob Noster coming in. I see them wreaking some havoc against the Lancers. And, yeah, to see a Pius team that could go 0-3, quite rightly right there on the books. But, again, it's not like Knob Noster's right around the corner either. But I think this is a group that you normally see them in state championship, state qualification, semifinal games. That when you've got a pedigree like that, I kind of almost compare that like to a Valley Catholic where they travel well. And I don't think there's going to be a situation where they are going to be like overmatched or where, you know, you might have that highlighted because they've got to make such a long trek. But I don't think that'll be the case in this game. And yeah, Seckman Northwest, I really just want to see how the Lions, you know, handle that game. And I think, as you had mentioned earlier, Jeff, like now in week 3, I mean, it's your identity is developing. So, and again, just to see how Northwest, you know, has progressed through these first 2 weeks, and you know what kind of pressure, what kind of game can they give Seckman?
Another good litmus test for another team.
It is now time for our Upon Further Review Player of the Week, and we have none other than Drew Leichel from the Perryville Pirates. Drew, how you doing, my friend?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Hey, great game over DeSoto, 31-28, big win. You accounted for 14 of those points. Let me get the list out here real quick. You had a 35-yard field goal. You had 4 extra points. And you had a touchdown to add to that as well. So you probably drove the bus and got pizza for everybody afterwards too, right? I mean, you did everything else, right?
Pretty much. Yep.
There you go. Tell us a little bit about the game there, Drew.
Yeah, you know, we started off, we had that first drive, and we got all the way down there to the end, and we got that field goal. You know, 3 points is better than not having any. So we got 3 points, and then we got another kickoff, stopped their defense, and then we put up another 7. So we had a 10-point lead, and that really just kept the momentum going for the game, I feel like.
Excellent. Excellent. You got a big 31-28 win over DeSoto there. What has it been like? You guys you're 2-0 now. What's it been like in the the locker room practices going? I mean, is that keep you guys motivated that you know, you guys are 2-0 already this year?
Yeah. I mean, it's different. You know, the momentum's a little bit better. We're working a little bit harder. You know, the locker room, everyone's, you know, looking forward to going out there and just keeping the ball rolling, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You've got a big game coming up this week here. You got St. Vincent, the St. Vinny Indians, we call them up here. And, you know, they're rolling pretty good. Got a big win over Valley last week. So you guys are going to have your hands full. Hopefully you've got a good game plan in place.
Yeah. I think we're going to have a hard week of practice here. Going to hit it hard, you know, have a good film session, you know, and hopefully we got a good game plan. Go out there and set the tone for them.
Excellent. Excellent. We appreciate the time, and congrats on being our player of the week.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. That's Drew Leichel from the Perryville Pirates. It is now time for our honorable mentions segment, and our honorable mentions this week, we've got 4 of them. Grandview's Wyatt Kime had 10 tackles, 23 carries, 109 yards, 2 total touchdowns. Crystal City, Evan Wolf, 3 receptions for 157 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick six, and 1 fumble recovery. Eureka's Trevor Kodak having a Kodak moment again there. 18 carries, 161 yards, 2 touchdowns. Seckman's Brody Kuby, 9 of 9 passing, 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. And we're going to elaborate a little bit on that there. And Jeff, let's start with you.
Well, Wyatt Kime may be more valuable on defense even for the Eagles than he is on offense. I think that, this guy is a ball hawk. He does so many little things well on the defensive side of the ball for Grandview. Obviously, he can catch the ball, he can run, he can throw on offense if need be. I've seen him swing it before too. But I think he might be more valuable on defense. Now, as far as Kodak is doing his thing. Matt had a really excellent analysis of him already. Evan Wolf, like I said before, had a monster game. The pick six on defense, he was doing it on both sides of the ball, as does everyone on Crystal City. You have to do it on both sides of the ball. But, Brody Kuby was the wild card for me watching that game. And Scott Lotta could tell you how impressed he was with him, watching him in person for Seckman. And it'll be really interesting to see, because of the opponent next week in Northwest, does Seckman just play it conservative and ground and pound, or do they let QB have a little freedom to throw it around a little bit just to exercise that part of their offense, guys?
Matthew.
Yeah, Wyatt Kime. Again, when you're talking about a program, you look at your Grandviews and Crystal Cities. I mean, just go ahead and lump them together. That when you're talking about programs where you only have a couple handfuls of kids that are available in your program on a weekly basis. I mean, that is almost a coach's nightmare of how to figure out how we get people rotated in and out, because your chances of coming off the field are slim to none. And depending on who you have to rotate in and out of your program with. So I'm telling you right now, the job that Kime and Wolf are doing for Grandview and Crystal City, don't let that go unnoticed. Don't sleep on that, because those are men that, as you had indicated, Jeff, that when you're looking at a small program like this, as far as the numbers go, his offensive and defensive talents are, I think you got to go 50-50 on that, because if you lose him on the defensive side to an injury, you lose him on the offensive side, and everything he brings to the table with that. Where I think if he was just a one-way guy and you looked at his defensive prowess, you probably have another player or two that could help out, maybe not replace him, but help out. But when you're only 14, 15 kids and you lose one of your big boys, I mean, that's like losing losing your whole bullet belt when you're going into gun battle at the Alamo. You're like, looking at Kodak, again, the 3 total TDs, I mean, doing it out of the backfield, hauling them in. And we see that again, week in, week out, the number of passes that are simple, easy passes out in the flat that are being dropped, passes that are at least helmet high, might be like sailing through the hands. That it just seems like when you look at a lot of the quarterback stats, that even like Missy, the 1 for 9 at DeSoto, when you have 4 or 5 drops on paper, that puts you 1 and 9 instead of maybe going 6 for 9, 5 for 9, to where you're not really scratching your head like, wow, do we need to replace a quarterback because, you and Ray are only seeing on paper that he goes 1 for 9. I'm there at the game, and there's like 6 passes that are dropped that are like very catchable balls. And I'm seeing a lot of that around the area, and even in a lot of the highlight packages that we have access to, where I'm just kind of scratching my head that, I mean, yes, the talent's there, but are we looking to get hit? Or are we just trying to do too much? I don't know. But I think the number of drops, I think somewhere needs to be allocated in some of these stat columns.
That's a good idea.
And don't get me started on stats and coaches reporting those.
Yeah. Coaches, please report your stats. We would love to be able to talk about your kids. There it is. Well, Well, we're going to wrap things up here. Thanks again for being with us here for week 2. We'll have week 3 next week. For Matt Bates, for Jeff Whitener, Ray Halbrook, all of us here at Upon Further Review. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching today's broadcast. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without the express written consent of Livestream STL is strictly prohibited.